Today, I'm pleased to announce our first guest to Left Turns Only Baseball. This player made his MLB debut at 21 years old, played 4 seasons for the Blue Jays, and was an instrumental piece in the 2015 playoff run. He's also represented Team Canada at the highest level, including the WBC, the Pan Am Games, and various other tournaments. Everybody, please welcome Mr. Dalton Pompey.
There he goes. Throw is short. Oh, wow. Dalton Pompey into the second deck.
So Dalton, thank you for coming today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I want to get right into it. Base stealing. So in 2015, you stole 2 bags against Salvador Perez, Hall of Fame catcher.
There he goes. Throw down Perez. Not in time. Stolen base in a blink. Runner goes. No throw. Pinch runner Dalton Pompey has stolen 2 bases here in the 9th.
Just walk us through your approach, your leadoff, and the best advice in stealing bags.
It starts with your lead, you know. You got to have intent when you're on the bases, right? When I always used to take my lead, I'll show you. I always used to make sure that I was in front of the baseline. I wanted it to be consistent. I wanted to make the same lead every single time, because when you do that, the pitcher doesn't know whether you're stealing or not, right? If you take a couple extra steps, an extra half a step, he can tell things change, right? So I used to go 1, 2, 3, and like a half. This was like my average lead right here. And I was in the baseline, a little bit up too. If you're back here, it looks farther away. You know what I'm saying? So I'd always be up in the baseline. I'd always have this foot drop back a little bit, kind of on like a 45-degree angle, just so I could clear my hips if I was gonna steal, right? If you're even in your stance, when you cross over, you're gonna take a half a step into the grass, right? So when it came to my lead, I wanted to be consistent, do the same thing every single time. I kind of had like a little bit of a lean. Like I'd be here, it wouldn't be 50-50. I'd start with my hands on my knees every time, and then I would kind of like drop down like this, right? So I'm kind of 60-40 leaning this way, because I want my momentum to carry me towards second base, right? Now, I'm on my toes, I'm not on my heels, weights forward. I would always think when I made my first move, I just wanted to drive my right elbow back. That allowed me to kind of clear my hips and straight line straight to second base. In terms of what I was thinking when the pitcher was on the mound, I was kind of different in the sense that most people would watch the front foot, right? Okay. When you were playing, did you watch front foot?
Front foot or like UCLA or like all that kind of stuff.
Right. So me, I would actually watch the back foot and use my peripherals, which is different. And obviously I don't recommend it, but it's just, that's how I did it, right? So what I would do is I would watch the back foot and I would actually think to myself back if I was stealing. Because what happens to a lot of base stealers, right? If you know you're stealing, right? And you're here, and then you're looking for the first movement, and then you see the first movement, it's always this, back, right? So like that's when guys get picked off. So what I would do is I would go here, bing, every single time, same thing, right? So now I'm watching the back foot, but anything else moves besides that back foot, I'm going. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm focused on his back foot. I'm thinking, okay, back, because I don't want to get picked off, right? So I'm thinking back, but I'm kind of in a lean back. And then front foot goes and I'm gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I'm focusing on this, back foot, anything else moves, I'm going. And also too, a lot of kids, what they need to do is they need to watch the pitcher, right?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So when you watch the pitcher, either you're on the bench, your teammates are on base, little tendencies that they can pick up, right? So for example, in the big leagues, it's not always the front foot that moves first. Sometimes it's the back elbow, right? Guy comes set, he goes like this, and then he throws. So now I'm not looking at his foot. I'm looking at his elbow.
Changes.
So now you turn, a 1-3 into a 1-5, right? Makes it easier on me. Yeah. So we would have coaches, Tim Leeper, he was our first base coach when I was there with the Jays. He would go in hours and just watch pitchers to see if they could tip off certain moves to help me when I got to first base. We would go over, starters, but mainly bullpen guys, right? Because I'm coming in late to try to steal bases and stuff, right? So I would sit down with him and we'd watch video. He'd be like, okay, when this guy comes set, he goes down here, he dips his chin. When he lifts his head, he's pitching. But then when he doesn't, he picks over. So when I get to first base, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
So speak on that, though, because I think that's one of the things that kids don't really realize is how important it is to, watch the game. Watch the pitchers, watch what's going on in the field, watch the catcher, just to see if people are asleep or you could pick up on something super big. Because I know some kids are it is what it is, I'll just play the game. But they don't realize the importance of that as the game is going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can make a difference later in the game, right, by watching the game. A lot of kids, they get to first base, they're happy, their job's done. No, man, it's only just begun. Now you're a base runner, right? So now I'm on the base, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm not stealing, I'm still looking for a ball in the dirt. I'm looking for a trajectory into the dirt. I'm taking my secondary. I'm not getting hung out here. I'm always coming back quickly. Because as you get to higher levels, guys start backpicking, right? So it just comes down to watching the game when you're not playing too, right? You're on the bench, help your teammates, right? There's things you can do, pick up on, give your teammates some advice. Hopefully they give you some advice, right? If you're not watching the game, you're not actually getting better. You can get mental reps from being on the bench, right? It's not the same as playing, but it's still beneficial, right? So some kids get checked out and they're like, whatever, man, I'm not playing today. No, you should still be in the game. Your mind should still be in the game. That's how you're gonna get better, right? It's just all repetition. Remember when we played? The game of baseball is built off repetition. So the more that you keep doing something, the better you're gonna get at it. Just because you're not physically doing it, mentally you could do it too, right? So.
Hey, listen, your parents tell you all the time, your coaches tell you all the time. Now you got a former big leaguer telling you, pay attention. So there's no excuse at all. All right, so one of the biggest problems with all hitters is overstriding and not being able to control their body weight, right? Thankfully, we have a big leaguer here to tell us how he did it at the highest level. So, Dalton, you're in the big leagues, you're facing the best of the best pitching. For some kids, their first thought process would be, someone's throwing 95, 96, I got to go out and get the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of letting the ball travel because they think it's going to beat me. How were you able to control your body weight in order to give yourself the best chance to get hits?
I think where it starts is the fact that the pitcher is supplying all the power, right, when they're throwing the ball. Therefore, I don't need to actually go get the ball. I think a lot of young hitters, and even myself at times, you get a little too anxious. That's what will get you out in front, right? You try to go get the ball. You try to be more on time, but instead of being more on time, you're creating a longer stride, which is making you late. You lose the barrel, you lose your hands, everything doesn't stay connected. What I did was every time I went in the box, I kind of had the same routine. I get in the box, step in with my left foot, right foot would be here. So I'm a little bit farther than shoulder width apart, okay? I always knew that I had to hit against a stiff backside. I couldn't let my knee, when I did do my knee tuck, get past my knee, get over my toes. You know what I mean? Past my toes and my heel. If you do that, now you lose everything, right? So now my body's fighting to get back to center, creating an overstride at the same time. So when I got in the box, I would kind of box my knee out just so I knew I felt my glute turn on and I was hitting against a stiff backside, okay? So I'm in the box, right? I'm making my move. Pitcher's in his wind up, legs up. Whenever the pitcher's legs up, I want to have my leg up. You know what I'm saying? I remember talking to Joey Batson. He had a large leg kick, right? He would always say, when the pitcher's leg's here, my leg is there. You know what I'm saying? Or it's about to be there, because if it wasn't, he was too late. So when I'm making his move, he lifts his leg. I was more like a knee tuck guy. So because of that, I didn't want to lose my balance. Everybody thinks you create power from a leg kick, but it's actually just from the ground up, right? So I could still generate the same amount of power if I was lifting my leg as in a knee tuck. So I tuck my leg in, right? So I feel everything is just centered. I feel like weight in between my growing area, just because of that's where the weight is centered and that's where all the energy in my swing is coming from. So it's almost like I feel tension in my legs here, like in a V, right? So I go make my stride, my foot is down before, like when the pitch is like about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way. Like he just released the ball. The reason is you'll see guys on TV, if their leg is still in the air and it's halfway to home plate, they're late. No chance. Not when you're facing 95, right? If he's 75, different story, right? But they're too late. So I always say you got to get your foot down early. The earlier, the better chance you have. At least you give yourself a chance. If you're late, you have no chance. So I make my move. I'm here, right? My first move is just back elbow in the slot. Like I would always work on that off the tee, and we'll talk about it later. Back elbows in the slot, connected to my back hip, rotate against the stiff front side, follow through, you know? I just tried to keep it simple. Like if you watch my swing, you know, trigger, stride, swing. I really tried to simplify it because when you're facing guys who are really good in the big leagues, high level pro guys, they know what they're doing, right? It's okay to have a lot of movement. You look at like Bo Bichette, but you have to be able to repeat it, right? Do a move that's repeatable, that you feel comfortable with, and you can be successful at it.
We all know baseball's a long year, 162 games, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failure. But what's something that you did in the box or to prepare yourself throughout the year to give yourself the best chance to get hits and make sure that your swing was feeling right? Even if you were struggling, what's your go-to drill? What's your go-to thing that you do all the time?
I think first and foremost, before I even got into, you know, my routine, I think a lot of young hitters, what they struggle with is confidence at times, right? Whether you're going good, everything's fine and dandy, but when you start struggling, right, it's different, right? You look out in the field, looks like there's 12 guys out there, you know what I'm saying? Everything you hit, you feel like you're out. What I learned early in my career, and when I struggled, and I'm happy that I went through this, is that every time I went up to bat, I had a chance to get a hit, right? But you can't get 4 hits in one at bat. I think what happens to a lot of young players is when they come up to bat, right? They're struggling. They're saying, oh, I gotta get 4 hits today. Well, you haven't even got one yet, right? But every single time you come in the box, you have a chance, right? So you gotta walk up to plate with confidence, right? Believe in the work that you put in before the game, and that should translate into more confidence for you. There's no guarantee you're gonna get a hit, but at the same time, you come up to the plate 4 times up to bat, you have a chance to get 4 hits. But if you played, you know, the last game, struck out 4 times, a lot of kids will carry over that 0 for 4 strikeouts, and now they're not confident. Now they go back up to the box, to the plate, and they're carrying that failure to the next game, and then it just snowballs, right? You can't do that. And fortunately for us, is like you play a lot of games as a professional, but when you're younger, you might play like twice a week, right? So now it's sitting on you, it's wearing on you. But you can't think like that. You just got to control what you can control. So my tee work was really important to me for getting locked in, not only for the game, but like just my overall preparation. So my weakness was always, I would lose connection with my back elbow, and my hands would cast out, right? I would lose the barrel. Yeah. So what I would do is, most people I know, they start with the tee away and then they work in, right? I do the opposite. I worked in to out. And the reason why I did that was I would kind of challenge myself. And I think the key too for tee work, anybody can put the tee here and hit the ball to the back of the screen or right up the middle, right? But if we're challenging ourselves, right, lowering the tee, raising it up, like kind of 4 corners, we're challenging ourselves for something that's easy for most of us, right? So you want to translate your tee work and your flips and make them as game-like as possible, right? Even like in flips, if you're swinging at everything, what are you going to do in the game? You're going to swing at everything, right? But if you're locked in and you're looking for specific pitches to hit, specific flips, specific BP throws, that will translate to the game. So I would always challenge myself. I'd put the tee basically on the white line. I'd put my body in a position where it's almost like parallel with my front hip, right? So I do my swing and my get ready to hit, right? I get to contact, my elbow is in tight, right? I feel it in here, everything's connected. I'm trying not to hook the ball, right? The ball will tell me what my swing is doing, right? You read spin, if you're hooking it, you're getting around it. If you get that flush backspin, you know, everything's crisp, yeah. So even though this ball's so far out in front and so far in, I'm trying to just, if we're hitting right now and it's 325, I'm trying to keep it fair, right? I'm not trying to hook it. I'm not trying to hit it foul. What is that going to do in a game?
Strike one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to keep it fair. So by doing that, when they do throw that pitch in during the game, you actually keep that ball fair. Because I'm doing it in practice, right? So I start there, right? I work my way, everything's in tight. Then slowly I move the tee, right? It gets a little bit easier. Now that pitch, like middle in, I'm still driving it to right field. I'm still adjusting the tee up and down, right? Like putting it middle is great, but like,
You're never really going to get a pitch that.
and if you do, you better not miss it. You know what I'm saying? But like, let's be realistic. Pitchers are taught to pitch on the corners, right? Low, high, up, down. So why am I just gonna work on a ball right down the middle all the time? I'm not doing it. So I would finish, right? I'd work the tee all the way around, kind of like on a 45-degree angle from like this edge of the plate to like the back edge. And then I would challenge myself too. I'd be here, and that pitch is like basically right in line with my belly button, right? And I'm like trying to see it deep. In order for me to hit this ball properly, I have to stay behind the ball, right? So we went from catching it out in front to seeing it deep, right? And this goes into hitters who lose balance with their leg kick. You can't, right? So if I take my leg kick and I'm out here, how am I supposed to hit that ball if I'm like this? I can't do it, right? So if it's more in my belly button and I'm staying back, now everything's back, right? I'm hitting that ball. I can feel the power through my leg, through the ground. Everything stays connected. Now, am I trying to backspin this ball? No, right? Because now, if I try to backspin it, I'm losing everything here, right? So I'm kind of just trying to work like low line drives through the third baseman, visually. It's a feel thing, yeah.
Just to make sure we're feeling our bat in the zone deep, so that in a game, we just have that same feel of staying behind the baseball.
Right.
Then you catch a little bit more on the front, and that's when you get your back spin.
Right.
That's when you get all the good stuff.
But the most important thing about the tee is it's purposeful work, right? Can't just come in here and just lollygag through stuff like you're just wasting your time, right? So come in here, I used to take like no more than, I don't know, 20 swings off the tee. You know, like tee for me was just like, okay, let's get my swing going. Let's get my bat path right. Let's do purposeful work. So I'm taking a couple here, a couple here, a couple here. I feel good. I'm getting the results. And now I can see the ball that's actually moving at me.
Yeah. It's great.
Cool, man.
It's great. So I got one more thing for you. We're done. We're one more thing for you in a second. Dalton, I just wanted to say thank you for coming out today. I know you're a busy guy, but everyone appreciates it. And I'm sure the kids will too, whatever age group they are, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and going on forward. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your knowledge. People, take heed to what he's saying. He played at the highest level, so he knows what he's talking about. So obviously, we got to get him some merch from Left Turns Only, a shirt. This is for you, my guy.
Left turns only, baby.
But we have one more thing. And this is one of the, I remember as a kid watching Dalton. It's my draft year, right? I don't know. And like a super, super, super big play or stolen bag that he had. And it was kind of something that just stayed in my mind forever. So this, Dalton, this is for you to take home. A very talented friend of ours made this.
No way, man. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome, man.
So
Thank you.
man.
Thank you, bro.
You guys know it's stolen third base.
Yeah, that was Texas, man.
Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Game 5, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate that.